Hello everyone, in this video I will be showcasing some techniques that I use to assemble and modify my 3D printed parts, like for example the tools that I use to make holes into cosplay parts. These things are called brad pins or split pins, and they give an authentic riveted look while being extremely easy and fast to use for assembly of cosplay helmets. You can insert them through the hole and then just push the two tabs to the different sides to secure them. They do not offer a whole lot of strength, but it's enough to hold the items in place, and for permanent assembly I would just definitely recommend using them with glue. They also come in many different types and shapes and colors. For example, you can use these black ones, I use a lot, and paint over them, or go with fancy golden ones. You can use the flattened head or the spherical heads, it's all up to you. Whatever you think looks best. With the files I sell, I also provide 3D printed rivet designs that also come in different shapes. Once these parts have been assembled, just cut them to length on the inside and then you can glue them, or for extra strength even melt the parts together with a soldering iron. And these pretty much look the same, I just prefer the brad pins because they're easier to use and they don't have layer lines. Of course, you can also use real hammered rivets. These are a lot more work and difficult to reach inside of the helmets, but if properly secured offer a lot more strength and authenticity. But for cosplay items that can be glued together, I think that's a bit of overkill. However, where I think these do come in play is with leather parts, where I think they are by far preferable. But yeah, overall I think these split pins offer enough of an authentic look that this is my preferred assembly method, and I think the results speak for themselves. You can use a hole punch that is, for example, being used to punch holes into belts and use them to cut through PLA plastic, but it's hard and it tends to deform the plastic quite significantly. But these holes can be used, for example, to sew in a helmet liner, similar to the authentic assembly methods. Advantage of these is that they have punches in different sizes, so depending on what you need, you always have the right hole size. However, the easiest way to do it is just use a soldering iron. You can install tips with various widths to get different hole sizes, and here I will showcase how I use them to make a custom ventilation pattern and also holes for more rivets if that's what you want. So you just punch the hot tip through melting the plastic, and then once the plastic cools off you can snip off the little blob that it leaves behind. And if it's not cooled down enough, it's very difficult to snip them, so just have to be a little bit patient. Also make sure that you do not push the soldering iron itself against the item, as it squishes the blob and leaves an ugly mark that's difficult to remove with the snippers. Here I try to make a bit more complex shape for the ventilation hole, which requires way more patience and cleanup, but if this is something you want and you put in the effort, it can be done. And finally, here is the type of pins that I use to secure something like a flip-up visor on this bar boot. You can just put it in, put it out, it's very authentic. These are some of the helmets I've already designed. They are really easy to print and sand because they come in like these parts that you assemble. They look great with the rivets. The files include split parts that can be printed on smaller printers. For example, on this nasal helmet you can see the inside has some glued support in there. And it all comes with instructions to do this. Everything is meticulously test printed and assembled by myself to make sure all the files are proper. The files are drag and drop ready and pre-supported. Overall I put a lot of effort into making them, and I think these are some of the highest quality 3D printing files you can find online. Thank you for watching, I hope that was useful. Cheers.